Okay, we can summarize the steps from example 1 that we just did as follows. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the derivative of both sides of the equation, and we're going to be very careful when we do that to apply the product, chain, and quotient rules where appropriate. And also be careful that when you take derivatives of something involving x, that's different than taking the derivative of an expression involving y. Second thing we do is we get all terms with y prime to one side of the equation and factor out the y prime. And then the third thing, we divide the remaining stuff to the other side to get y prime by itself. Parts 1 and 3 are really pretty fast. Most of the work is algebra, really, in part 2. So let's do example 2 and see how this works out. So I'm going to start by actually rewriting this equation. Instead of 1 over y, I'm going to write it as y to the negative 1 and x to the negative 1. That'll make it easy for me to do the power rule on those when I take the derivative. And that's equal to x plus y squared plus 1. And now I'm actually going to do step 1, where I take the derivative of both sides of the equation. Now the derivative with respect to x of y to the negative 1, I take that derivative just as if it was an x. So I do the power rule. The negative 1 comes down. I subtract 1 from the exponent to get y to the negative 2. And because it's a y and not an x, I have to multiply by a dy over dx. I chain rule on that y and get a dy over dx. Minus, now I take the derivative of x to the negative 1, just like I normally would. That's negative 1x to the negative 2, equals, so that was the derivative of this, the derivative of that. Now I take the derivative of this. To take the derivative of x plus y squared, I actually have to do a chain rule. The 2 comes down. I leave the x plus y just as it is on the inside. That's my baby on the inside of the mom. And now I multiply by the derivative of x plus y. The derivative of x is just 1. And the derivative of y, that's also just 1, but because it's a y and not an x, I have to multiply by dy over dx. Plus, when I take the derivative of 1, I just get 0. So that's the end of step 1. We finished that. Now we're going to go into step 2. We want to get all terms with y prime to one side of the equation and factor out the y prime. The problem right now is that this dy dx is inside parentheses, which are getting multiplied by something else with parentheses. So I need to first expand everything over here by foiling this out, and then I'll be able to get the dy dx's on the same side. So let's simplify this a little bit. This is negative y to the negative 2 dy over dx plus x to the negative 2. And that equals 2x plus 2y, I'll multiply that 2 in there, times 1 plus dy over dx. And now I'm going to FOIL this out. This becomes 2x plus 2y. Now when I do 2x times that, I get 2x dy over dx plus 2y dy over dx. This side stays the same. Negative y squared dy over dx plus x to the negative 2. And now, remember this, from here on, this is all step 2. I'm just trying to get my dy dx's to the same side. I've now got everything as an individual term, so I can add this y squared dy dx to this side, so it's over here with the other dy dx's. And then the 2x and the 2y I can subtract to the other side. So this becomes x to the negative 2 minus 2x minus 2y, because I moved these over, equals, when I add this over, I get, that should be a y to the negative 2, y to the negative 2 dy over dx plus 2x dy over dx plus 2y dy over dx. And now that I've got all my dy dx's on one side, I can factor them out. So I get y to the negative 2 plus 2x plus 2y times dy dx. So I factor each of these out. And that's equal to x to the negative 2 minus 2x minus 2y. And that's the end of step 2. My very last step, step 3, is just to divide the remaining stuff to the other side to get the y prime by itself. So I'm going to take this divide it to the other side, and I end up with dy over dx by itself. And over here I have x to the negative 2 minus 2x minus 2y divided by y to the negative 2 plus 2x plus 2y. And that is my answer.